usually right around this time I'm in front of 256 graders doing my lunch duty. So I feel very nervous in front of a group of adults. But I'm a middle school principal in Waltham, Massachusetts, just outside of Boston. I've spent the last 20 years as a middle school administrator in communities around Boston. If you know the area, I've been in Lawrence, Somerville, Boston, and now the small city of Waltham. Before that, I was a middle school teacher. And just a year ago, my third child finally made it out of middle school. My kids are very far apart, so it's been middle school 24/7 for a long, long time. It's interesting, when you talk to people about middle school, or you talk to middle schoolers, they often have, as adults, we have a hard time remembering what even happened during middle school. As a principal, I often find people remember who their elementary principal is, they remember their high school principal, they really have no idea who their middle school principal was. And if you ask people about the experiences they had during middle school, they were so peer-oriented during that time, or so self-absorbed that it's very hard to remember. So it's a little bit of a mysterious age in that way. I want you to take a moment at your table, though, to just think about either for you, when you were in middle school or junior high school as it was for me, or if you want to talk about one of your kids, that's fine. What was a formative middle school experience that you can think of? Something that impacted your identity. Because what I'm going to talk about a little bit is the formation of identity. Not so much what Joanna said about getting kids through middle school, but about laying the foundation for a future positive identity, which is so important. So take a moment at your table, share a memory of middle school or junior high school, and an experience you had in school or outside of school that impacted your future identity. I did hear a little bit about trying to fit in. Did anyone have a positive, formative memory that they have about something they did in middle school that informed their life later on that they want to share? Yes, sir.
I was a part of a chess club, and I think that activity created deep thinking, critical thinking, and I remember it being fun.
Robert, thank you. I didn't plan you here, but I'm really glad you have that story. This whole thing was going to the left. So, from a parent's point of view, I do want to share a story of my own son. I don't think we always know what's going on during middle school, during adolescence. But as a parent, when you're watching, you sometimes do. So when my oldest son was in 7th grade in Lexington, Massachusetts, he was lucky that, in typical Lexington, Massachusetts fashion, one of the other parents was an MIT professor developing a new computer program called Scratch, which now is all over the country. And she started a club at the school, and they got to investigate this program. And he happened to join it because some friend joined it. And we're not a family of scientists or technical people at all. And he got very interested in that. And then from there, he started doing a sequence of activities outside of the classroom and in the classroom. So in 8th grade, he joined a Lego robotics team from scratch. In 9th grade, he joined a high school robotics team. He then started registering for computer science classes in high school, participated in local hackathons in the Boston area. He then actually went to Johns Hopkins and became a computer science major, and that's now carried him through into being a computer scientist now. And it did start with the Scratch Club, and it was very interesting to watch that influence his development. And he might not see that way, but as his parent, I do, and I'm glad Robert told us that story, because these experiences that we have outside of the classroom or in the classroom really impact our development and our identity. So as I've been a principal over the last 20 years, I've had the luck to come into contact with a few very influential and profound movements within education. And one of them really was the EW, the Early Warning Systems movement. I was at a Diplomas Now school. I had City Year in my school. Got to know Dr. Balfanz's research and got to come down here for the Diplomas Now conferences. And it was a very, very profound experience for me. And the idea is just so simple and powerful that you can see the roots of future risk when kids are 11 years old. And since you can see it, you should do something about it. That is such a powerful idea. And I love early warning systems and EWI. If anyone wants to talk middle school EWI, I'm your EWI nerd who wants to talk about it. But I'm not going to focus on that in this presentation. Here I want to talk about identity. And this is where another chance encounter I had in my school really helped to educate me. So if anyone knows a professor named Dr. Michael Malcolm, I think he's at UPenn now, but back then he was at the Harvard Graduate School of Education. And he organizes his work around a project called Project IF. And he works with at-risk adolescents, particularly middle school students. And IF means inventing the future. And his contention is at-risk students have a negative vision of their own future. And the best form of intervention is to build on their assets and help them invent a positive version of their own future. That the future is not fixed and you invent your own future by the story you tell about yourself. That's a beautiful idea and very, very powerful. And the problem is that the way we do school doesn't really account for that. So what we all share as a responsibility as parents and as adults in schools and in the community is helping every single adolescent invent a positive vision of their own future so they can lay that pathway for themselves. So the middle schooler is a perfect age, I believe, for this type of intervention. There are so many strengths. I love the video that Erica shared, which she actually made, which I'm just amazed at. But middle grade students have so many strengths. They're curious, they're idealistic, they're now capable of critical thinking and analytic thinking. They're actually helpful, they're playful, at least all these things when they're not at home. And most importantly, they are idealistic and hopeful, and they want to participate in things. They're ready to try new things. Sound like angels, of course, but they have some drawbacks. They're very immature, they're very impulsive, and they can be extremely annoying, of course, as we all know. So what I would describe what adolescents need at this age is structured independence. And that's how we think about our school. That's what we tell parents when they come in. We're going to be releasing independence to your child, but it's structured independence. If it's too much independence, it's chaos. If it's too much structure, it's disengagement, it's boredom, or maybe it's rebellion. So structured independence, where within the boundaries set by adults, middle schoolers together in groups are exploring. And if you think of it in Dr. Napo's terms, exploring so we help them explore so they can form a future positive identity. So I want you to take a moment now to think again about a middle school that you know about. It might be one you went to, one that you've worked with as a professional. It might be one that your child went to. What are some ways that students get to explore within the structures set by adults to form a future positive identity? Who accesses that? What are some of the opportunities they have? So just take 2 or 3 minutes to share some things that you can think of outside or inside the classroom where students get that opportunity. Okay, let's bring it back together. So I'd like to ask each table to just call out one thing they discussed. And just to clarify, these are experiences that an 11 to 14 or 11 to 15-year-old might have, provided by the school or by the community, that might impact their future identity in a positive way. A positive activity that engaging in it is impacting their identity and their image of themselves. So let's just go around each table, just call one out, someone call one out that you might have discussed.
Integrating STEM labs and flexible learning spaces into our middle schools.
STEM labs.
Yeah, I work in a town, and the 2 school systems and the University and Tech College have gone together, and we do every year an 8th grade career fair where there are multiple career options, like you think about in college going to them. They do them at that age, and they're very interactive, so they rotate from the university and the technical college. And so and students have some stuff ahead of time, some stuff afterwards. I don't know even all the details, but so they have 3 or 4 that go and visit. So you visit tables and learn hands-on stuff and begin to think about, and then there's reflective activities afterwards in the school system to say, let's talk about what we can do with these in preparation for making some choices about high school.
Fantastic, thank you. Have one here? For middle table? No? I won't force you. Go ahead, next table.
So we talked about healthy decision making with healthy food options. So a lot of times kids can feel like they're being penalized for, or it feels like a punishment to eat healthy. So what the Y in Oklahoma did was they ranked it, and then when you got the max points, you got like a buck, like a Y, you see a buck for it, and then it's a month by something. So it created this idea of, you can own your healthy choices, but you can also have treats. It just means that there are consequences to, like when you have a sugary drink or something like that.
This table?
Just student council. At my school, we're a No Place for Hate school, so the kids actually write their platform, they write speeches about what's being at a No Place for Hate school. What does that mean to me? They actually say the speech in front of the student body. They campaign for a month. They're going from president, vice president, recording secretary, and public relations director. And their campaign posters are all over the place. The kids actually vote electronically. I voted stickers on them, so it's just not instilling the kids that are running, but also the kids that are voting as well. So I'm doing that since 3 years now. So
Fantastic. This table, you have one that you want to share? No. Okay. Last table.
I was trying to think of something that happens in the classroom, because I think that's oftentimes the hardest thing to find an example for. And I remember some work that Facing History and Ourselves does around actually describing, like students engage in the activity of describing their identity, learning words for identity descriptors. And I think if there's anything that probably helps people develop positive identities, it might be like getting the words to be able to finally say, like, here are the things that I think about myself, and here's the way I exist in the world.
So what I want to challenge us to think about is how the traditional way schools are organized, middle schools especially, but also high schools, is that some kids get access to leadership opportunities. Some kids get access to extracurricular activities, but not all. And we haven't made it part of our mission that every student gets this. But as parents, we want our students to access those things. So the things that we want for our kids, we're not structuring schools to give it to all of them. And we have not succeeded in doing this in our school, but we've observed that layered over the early warning indicators and the kids we send off to high school is a gap of who's participating productively in activities outside of the classroom. And we've tried to figure out ways to draw in the half of the students who aren't and try to reach 100% of our students. So I want to give a couple quick examples of some shifts we're making and then really invite us all to try to work together to make this happen. So at our current school, we have a student council, of course, but we changed our student council. Some minor changes to try to bring in different students. Instead of voting by homeroom, we voted by English class, where ESL classes were represented, where sub-separate special education classes were represented, and we moved away from one representative to multiple representatives. So this is a brand new student, immigrant from Guatemala, running for election during her first couple of months in our school, which was fantastic. So just an example of trying to consciously think more about equity and about access for all when designing these. Our STEM club, just a picture of students working on a musical instrument invention, but we've changed the STEM club not to be, and in fact our Math Olympiad as well. This club now takes place over vacation, where a lot of the more affluent students in our very diverse community aren't available. But the students who are available are the ones we want to make sure that we reach. So by moving it from being after school, where kids might not have a way home, to being over vacation, when students might not have anything to do, has changed who registers for that club. We have a community food pantry. We have our middle school students work at the food pantry. They are personal shoppers for older community members who come, and the yellow bands around, they're translators. So we need our multilingual students or even our bilingual students to come because adults from the community need that translation. There's lots more examples. Our goal has been to try to reach all of our students, engage all of them in these activities. Our Model UN Club is another activity. This is a slightly different approach where we cast a net across the whole grade and then narrow it. So we do a 7th grade unit where every class participates in a Model UN simulation about pandemics. We work with a local university to train them. Here they are, 2 students giving their speech. We then have a Model UN club for the students who are more interested in that. And here you see students presenting from a Model UN competition. And an amazing story. This happened this summer. This is a girl on the right who's now a high school junior, I think. She sent this text to the club president. I'm Miss Meredith. I visited the United Nations today. Thank you, thank you, thank you for teaching me everything I know about the UN. I am forever grateful. The immigrant student from Haiti in this case, and she hasn't made it to post-secondary success yet, but I think we're all 100% confident that she's going to be successful. So some things that middle grade students need to participate in these activities. They need an adult champion to provide encouragement. They're not going to do this without an active champion. They're not as self-motivated as high school students. That's both good and bad. They can be influenced by a motivational adult. They need peers who can participate together. They need opportunities for independence, creativity, leadership, and exploration. And they need adult-provided support, structure, and limits. We all know that any student that goes off to high school with a passion for some activity and can enter into a positive peer group and an activity at a large comprehensive high school is going to be more successful. We know that a high school student who goes off to college with intense interest in a certain area and joins an activity, whether it's an athletic activity, leadership, service, arts, is going to be more successful in college. But we need to rally. We also know who the students are who aren't participating, and we need to organize ourselves to do that. And 2 years ago, we rewrote our school mission. It's not a particularly poetic mission, but it has something new in there. Every student will graduate from McKevitt Middle School motivated to learn, involved in one or more school activities, and meeting or exceeding standards in all subject areas. And so the question I leave you with, and also the invitation to work with us in the middle grades, is how can schools and communities reach every student? Thank you.
Hi everybody, my name is Heather Lewis-Weber. I am the Program Director of SPARK in Philadelphia. SPARK is a national organization that partners with around 3,000 students across the country. We have 4 offices, 2 in California, 1 in Chicago, and 1 in Philadelphia, my home base. So I'm hoping to, through this conversation, leave you all with some ideas on how you can build coalitions in your communities to support students in the middle grades. I'm so excited to be here in a room full of people who are excited to talk about the middle grades. I feel like the middle grades are often left out of some of these conversations, and so for all of the reasons that we've talked about today, I'm hoping we can continue to reflect and collaborate on ways to continue to support students in these middle grades. Sorry guys. So the middle grades, as we all know, they're full of all types of development. So one of my favorite things is when people ask me what I do for a living, and I say I work with middle school students, I get this look, or people are like, ooh, because it's a rough age. It is a rough age for all of the reasons that we've been talking about today, from Erica's initial activity, thinking through all of the different things that are changing for students. So we've got identity development, we've got social and emotional development, we've got brain development. There's just a lot happening for students. And so at SPARK, it's our goal to really meet students wherever they are along that spectrum of development. And again, it's really important to highlight meeting them where they are, because our students, they are diverse, they're all over the map in terms of where they are with this. So keeping equity in mind, it's really important to make sure that we're providing students with the tools that they need to be successful, whatever those may be. Again, this work is about collaboration. We've talked a lot about collaboration through a lot of the sessions today. And it's really about building a network of people to do this work. The old saying, it takes a village, it's always true. And so at SPARK, we call that the possibility movement, the people who are involved and deeply passionate in investing time, energy, resources in supporting students and figuring out who they want to become. So again, thanks to all of you for being here today and for all of the work that you do in your communities to help make this work possible, help students understand the people that we're trying to be. So again, middle years happen before that critical ninth grade year. We all know the students who are on track in ninth grade are more likely to graduate. And so making sure we capture students before that point, making sure to invest resources, invest time with those students prior to getting to that ninth grade year can help support them on the path to post-secondary success. So what we do at Spark is we provide career exploration and self-discovery experiences for middle school students to help them understand, explore, and pursue what's possible for their futures, and we'll talk more about what that actually means. This is our theory of change. So we believe that if you invest time into building social and emotional skills for students, we've talked a lot about social and emotional skills throughout the different sessions today, and I'll talk more about how we use those in our programming. But investing time in helping students develop those skills that are going to help them be successful in their classroom and also in their professional careers. And social capital. So this is my favorite piece of the work that we do, really beyond learning some of these skills, is really just having that experience of meeting new people, understanding how to leverage resources and opportunities that come their way to be successful. So our program is workplace-based, so we bring students to workspaces to learn more about the work that folks do in those spaces. And so having students walk into these buildings, the high-rise buildings that they've seen in their communities and in Center City, Philadelphia, having them actually walk in there, ride the elevator to sometimes the first time on the 36th floor of a building, looking outside the windows, being able to see their city skyline is so key. And one of my favorite parts is seeing my 7th graders just walk right up to the CEO of a company, introduce themselves like it's nothing. I believe every student should be able to feel comfortable walking up to a CEO, introducing themselves, and some of them have made some excellent pitches for jobs. So, so we believe that investing in social and emotional skills and social capital for the students will lead to increased performance in some of those early warning indicator areas that we've seen. And we have seen that happen. Again, Mike and I were talking earlier about, we kind of like glossed over a lot of the data in these presentations, like typical middle school educators. However, if you all are interested in the data, I'm happy to chat more about that in the Q&A section or offline today. So this is the framework that we use for social and emotional development. This is CASEL, which some of you may be familiar with, the Collaborative for Academic, Social and Emotional Learning. These are the 5 core competencies that we believe helping students develop will lead to success in both school and in their careers once they're older. These are some of the 21st century workforce skills that we all need to be successful. And so there's 5 of them: self-awareness, responsible decision-making, relationship skills, social awareness, and self-management. And so we work with students to develop those to help them navigate many of the fun challenges that we got a chance to explore a little bit earlier today. The second framework that we use is project-based learning. So we believe that this is really, really important for students, especially in those middle grade years, getting a chance to be more hands-on and explore in person, outside of classroom walls. So we've seen from research that this can help with collaboration, problem-solving skills, and can also lead to students being able to retain content a little bit better. So our program model has 3 sort of key factors. So the first is exploration, so giving students a chance to actually step outside the classroom and start to figure out, what am I interested in? What do I see my future as? And so we give students an opportunity in the fall of their 7th grade year to visit up to 5 workplaces, get a chance to work with the people who actually have jobs at those workplaces to explore what that career looks like. So this is a 2-hour session that happens at the workplace. Students travel from the school, so our staff provides busing and staff to get the students to these workplaces. The company will set up some sort of exploration activity, such as a tour, giving students a chance to see what day-to-day life looks like at that workplace. Or sometimes it will be something that's related to their careers, so tools that they use, activities that they do, and their jobs. So for instance, a big hit is always at our architecture firms, having the students actually witness the 3D printing process that they use to make buildings. And then they also do activities with those volunteers that help them build those social and emotional skills, but also continue to learn about people's trajectories. So how do the people who work at that company end up where they are now? The second piece is immersion, so getting a little bit deeper when students have had a chance to explore and figure out what their interests are, actually giving them a chance to work one-on-one with a mentor, in a couple of cases, two-on-one with a mentor, to figure out what their passion is and how they can explore that through a career interest project. So the mentors provide their expertise over the course of 13 weeks to help students figure out what that thing is they're interested in and create a project around that they can then share. So I have a lot of really fun examples of what those projects look like, and I'll actually give you a chance to see one of those projects in just a second. But it's a real chance for students to figure out the careers that they are interested in now, how can they make those into, or the ideas that they have for careers, how can they make those into viable careers later on in life. And then lastly, the transition piece takes them from their 7th grade year through that transition from middle school to high school. So the high school landscape looks different in each of our regions, I'm sure. In Philadelphia, it can sometimes be a rough time because there are a lot of choices that students have to make, a lot of questions that students have to navigate. So our transition programming helps support students through the process of figuring out what they need for their high school experience, what's going to help them get to that end point of the career that they are interested in or will be pursuing, emotional skills, and apply them to that high school process. That's all of the talking that I had. I really would love to share with you all one of the stories from one of the mentorships that happened my first year at Spark. It really meant a lot to me because after this project was done, one of the principals from one of our partner schools came up to me and told me that I had to send this video out to the entire school staff because one of the students in the video had never spoken in her school or participated in the classroom. And so for the principal and the teachers that came to this Share Your Spark event, which is our culminating event, to actually see the student speaking confidently about something that she had experienced, just kind of blew their minds. So that's the kinds of progress we love to see through the program. That's the kind of identity formation. Having students feel confident in what they're learning and what they're passionate about is what they're all about. So I'm going to give you all a chance to actually see one of the projects that the students made.